Doing good. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Oh.
We have our scientist on the line.
Yes.
You're going to get a hitchhiker.
Sorry, I think I heard you very quiet back there.
Totally
Sorry,
going
my
to get a
mic wasn't
hitchhiker.
positioned well.
There we go.
Good morning. Looks like we have a ride along here.
Huh. Pretty fun. Okay, so as I understand it, our plan is to still go up to 2S. We just finished a transect.
While he's doing that, why don't you take off Z-lock and play with it a little, stick lock. Usually I try and shoot for target altitude of 1.8 on the level. But in this case, since you can see the front of the vehicle there, I would pick something on the seabed and try and hold it on that. And then you want to come bring your altitude down to probably about 2 meters. Try and click that in.
Hi, we're in the
Good
middle of a shift
afternoon,
change.
everyone.
Hello, Kirsten.
Yeah, when it's smooth like this, we can. So probably about there is good.
We'll get settled in just a
Looks
moment.
like we have a Tanner crab that has joined
So
us for the ride.
caveat is if you change your head on this slope, it's going to change what the altitude of the DVL sees. So if you change your head to the right, it's going to make the vehicle go higher, to the left, lower. So, all right, it's looking like it's going to do it. If you get your camera set up, well, what are we doing here? Another transect or moseying on to a waypoint? Or?
We just wrapped up a transect. So we're going to mosey on, do a little exploring to our next out of 100-meter radius.
Copy.
Okay.
And we're on the hunt for soft bottom habitat or hard bottom. We're going to sort of skip the mixed. We've got a lot of those transects already.
Roger.
So come back down the hill a little to your right. What's going to be our bearing, Rennie?
Well, the general direction we're going is going to be 045 roughly, but I'm going to inquire here. Do we want to just head directly upslope and then lateral over to 2S, or do you want to go right there?
No, I like your first option of the earlier option would be good.
Okay, so then we're going to be going north up the slope.
So let's click off auto altitude and then adjust your heading to north and reacquire the auto altitude. It's a good thing to look at while you're doing that, a little smudge where we landed earlier. You can change it with auto heading on. It's up to Steeler's choice there. But float up a little off the seabed. So if you just let go of the vert. I typically will turn auto heading off and adjust my heading and then click it back in. It works either way. You want to look north? So if you would have, like I said before, if you would have adjusted the heading with the auto altitude on, it would have stuffed your nose in the mud. Come around a bit more so you're right bang on north.
Yeah, so you could see you're a bit over to there, to the right. So it's fine for now, but you can just keep it in mind as, or you may want to lateral over, but as we go up the slope, you can kind of sweep both ways as we go forward up it. As long as you're in Argus cam is a good idea as you're training.
Sounds like we might have a new pilot today. Is that true? Shall we do some introductions?
Yeah, good morning. This is Dan. I'm sitting in the Argus chair this morning, and we're going to let young Jake have a go on the sticks here.
Yes, I am sitting in the Herc chair right now. Been a long time.
Well, welcome, Jake. Happy to have you.
Click in auto heading there, I think.
Yep.
Hey, pilots, when you're ready,
And,
I can
auto altitude.
head up slope. Gonna go slow.
Yep.
Roger. Bridge nav.
Sounds good.
So I have Argus facing north as well. So
We
as
have
you head
a
up the
ship
slope,
move
if you
100 meters,
basically
bearing
try and keep Herc in the center of the
north,
street.
Okay.
speed 0.3. Thank you.
So you'll go forward and slide to the left a little, as Ernie said.
Yep.
And I use the nav screen over there quite a bit. So, but don't get the yellow thing is the DVL, which can wander a bit over time, depending on when we reset it. But those 20-meter squares on there,
Yeah.
it's a good distance to keep Herc away from Argus. If you get more than 20, it'll start pulling on you. And the other one I use, which is real convenient when you can see it, when I'm
on the sonar.
this. Yeah.
Argus.
So you'll have to keep an eye on me too, because I'm a horrible Argus pilot. Tend to forget what I'm supposed to do over here.
I guess the delta's a little low. But
Yes, it is. Coming up. It's typically going to be lower when we're going up the hill.
Yeah.
I like it a little lower and stretch out a bit.
So you can see the tether? Or?
Yeah, it gives us more time, but if Argus is like 25 meters off the deck now, right? And I can still see it in the Herc sonar behind me, so I know how far away I am. So you'll have to wait for the boat if you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, towards the end.
That's 10-meter divisions on the sonar on the left, so you're 30 meters away. You have a 35-meter tether plus the slope. Nice sand waves.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I must have not been paying attention.
You're paying attention to different things. You're making us get situated here. So we just performed a watch change. We have a new crew in the control van, the pilots and the navigators and the data loggers and the videographer. And on shore, we have a couple of scientists through the telepresence. So my name is Erica Burton. I'm a scientist from the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I'll be leading this watch in partnership with everybody else on the line, of course. Kirsten, I'm not sure if you introduced yourself yet.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Kirsten Lindquist, and I am the Ecosystem Monitoring Manager for the Greater Farallones Association. So I work closely in partnership with Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary in all of their research. So I am here supporting the whole team as a scientist today.
Number than the preset.
We're lucky to have Justin Hall today. Justin, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, my name's Justin Hull, and I work for Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary on the education team. And I was on the last 2 hours of the last watch, and I'm going to join the first 2 hours of this watch. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Welcome.
And we heard from the two pilots, Dan and Jake. They are piloting Hercules and Argus today. And I believe Rennie is in the navigation seat.
That's
Want
right.
to say hi, Rennie?
Hello, this is Renato Kane. I'm the navigator on this watch.
And Steve on video?
Yes, Stephen Matter, video engineer on the 12 to 4 watch.
And data logger extraordinaire, I think we got Taylor Ann.
Yes, you do. Taylor Ann back here, data log in away. Getting ready to have everything set up for your samples and transects. It's a fun job back here. Sadly, I'm all alone in the back row by myself. Everybody's
Yeah, that's
in the front row.
That's one of the things that's been a bit different with the telepresence as you look back in the back row and there's just one lonely data logger. That's a lot of real estate back there, I'm sure.
We are there with you in spirit.
So we had a great night last night with a lot of hard habitat, lots of corals and sponges. And today we are in the middle of soft bottom habitat with some sand ripples or sand waves. So some sort of currents are coming through here. And right now we're passing by a thorny head rockfish and a sea pen on the left. And we're making headway to our next transect. We'll be exploring along the way, and then we'll be performing a time transect. And one of our cruise leaders said we can do a transect in any sort of habitat now. So we'll do them in soft habitats if we see it, mixed, both soft and hard substrate, and then hard substrate. So it's a free-for-all. Just want to get some good data.
We have a lot of scientists on our science chat this morning. Great to see everyone. Please feel free to chime in and share any tidbits, questions, guidance. All welcome.
We will be on the lookout for some sponge collections while we're in between transects. We are interested in getting a couple more of those pipe cleaner-like looking asbestopluma predatory sponges, as well as any other sponges we might see that are on our collection request list. So keep an eye out for those, and we'll do the best we can.
Oh, we had so many of those predatory sponges on the first shift of this dive.
Yeah, we'll get some more. If not here, we'll get them at Davidson.
Justin, we've just been kind of catching up on what this morning's the earlier shift was like. I heard that there might have been a flapjack octopus. Did you see that?
I did as a general member of the public. I wasn't logged into side chat at the moment, but it was, yeah, really cool. And Amity Wood at Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary kicked it off with saying that wanted to congratulate everybody on World Octopus Day, October 8th. You get the October, get it, October, and 8. So that was great. And I think we were just talking about how just before this was sighted, Jan was saying, surprised I haven't seen any octopus this cruise so far. So that's what we decided probably. Depends how superstitious you are, but that might have had a little something to do with it, or at least it was notable. I'm not sure the data logger got her comment, but yeah.
It seems to me that anything that happens at sea always has a little hint of that suspicion that whatever you say may be heard. Jan has definitely called up things before.
Bridge nav.
Yeah. However, she always asks for sperm whales,
Let's
and
add
they
one
have
more
yet.
step. 100 meters north. Thank you.
Yet to appear. So not only is this Octopus World Octopus Day, but it's also a Cephalopod Awareness Week. So every year, October 8th through 12th, you can find lots of extra information about cephalopods in the world. But we were also noting last night the lack of octopus so far. So you never know what we'll run across. So we're passing a thorny head right now. A species of rockfish that can handle low oxygen. We're not seeing many species of fish down here. The community is a community of fish that can handle lower oxygen waters.
I don't know if you mentioned, but we're at 774 meters.
Quite a bit shallower than we were when we started.
Yeah. So we'll see a different group of animals, just a little bit different, especially with these tanner crabs popping up.
Do we still have our ride along tanner crab? I guess we don't want to change our view.
We can check it on
I'm gonna
another
move your
camera.
bubble cam for a minute. No, looks like he jumped off.
I heard earlier in either the previous shift or the earlier shift, we had a hitchhiker grenadier that came up. May have encountered the thrusters. So we're going to collect some eDNA from it. So some tissue was sampled for that. I guess it was the end of last dive. That's what this must have been.
So Hercules
Taylor
has
may have actually did it.
Hercules has exited that 100-meter boundary from the last transect. What my plan was is wait till Argus gets out, and then we'll change our bearing to be with the contours. We'll go about 085, roughly east, and on that kind of laterally along this slope, as long as pilots are good with that, we'll do that transect if this is an area where you want one. Otherwise, we'll just keep on in that direction towards 2S regardless.
No, I think your plan of doing a transect when you're able would be great.
Okay, sounds good. So Jake, what I'll do is when I call that in, you'll still see Argus go north, and eventually it'll round to go east. And then I think what you'll want to do is keep like you got here as much as you can.
Okay.
Move laterally and be a little bit out on the east side. That way you're still in front of Argus as we move kind of east.
Okay.
I'm keeping an eye up here, make sure there's no obstacles.
Yep.
But it seems like it's not too bad of a slope.
It's pretty even.
Yeah.
We'll keep the boat moving when we do.
Roger that.
Awesome.
Justin, is it my understanding that you might be taking some Q&A from the public sometime today, or is that happening at another time?
I'm open to it. I'm just, I have a login. I'm just going to wait to get a little more info on the logistics of it, but I would love to do that. I'm ready and able, and I'm kind of keeping an eye out for a little more info.
Okay, sounds good.
If it comes up
Delta's
at
a
your
little low.
meeting in a few
Yeah.
minutes,
Roger.
let them know I'm standing by.
Okay.
Altitude is too.
So yeah, we're
Pull up, sand waves.
What's your scale over there? Is that down to 20 meters on the sub bottom? Just so I know when I glance over.
20, yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, I'm going to call in that move there. Bridge nav. Can we call in a new move 100 meters, bearing 085, speed still 0.3? Thank you. So it'll gradually alter. You're a little bit out of the vision, but that's okay. We're going to end up, I suspect we'll have Argus looking maybe 45 as we go 85 or something like that.
Sorry, what's the new bearing?
So we're going to be going east along the slope. I don't know if you want to face Argus around 45 rather than east. That way he can crab along in kind of this orientation like that. Or if you want to face Argus all the way east or somewhere in between, up to you.
We're going to head east, right?
We're heading east, yeah, 085.
So those of you joining us from home, we are waiting for the ship and the 2 ROVs to get into a good position for us to start a transect. So the 2 ROVs need to maintain a certain distance from each other, and the ship needs to be in the right place so that we can handle going a set and continuous speed from the beginning to the end of our transect, where we'll be collecting video data that will be post-processed after this cruise.
I don't know if Argus is
Looking
going
at
to move swift enough for the how much you are to the outer bit.
Come back in the...
Yeah.
And it'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
That's probably enough to the north, Jake, if we're going to go east.
Yeah.
You can bring your head to the east now, see what it looks like, or 085, whatever. You can, it's up to you whether you do it with auto on or not. .085, I think he was on about.
Yep. Looks like Argus is starting to make that that turn. So it'll start to follow you. You're a bit upslope.
So bring your head right around to 085 and lock that in.
Okay.
So while we're waiting to start for the to start this transect,
Used to using those 3 buttons there and know where they are, because
want to get our altitude set before we start the transect here. You happy with the camera and position and the lasers?
Oh yeah, give us a second.
Sorry, I was talking to science.
You'll need to know where those buttons are, because if it goes pear-shaped in a hurry, you don't have time to look away. You can glance and get. I can do them without. I can know how far over. Usually, I press the wrong one all the time.
could we step back out and just double check that we're out as far as we can without looking at gear
What's that?
on the video? I was just talking to Rennie on if we could exactly, and now just step back. I just wanted to check. Let's
Let's
see.
slide. Let's slide to the right a little bit.
Okay.
Make
Perfect.
it course over ground 135. Which Rennie will show you where that is over there. It's a little.
Like that.
It's a little box over there. You can see it. Second from the right on the top.
And then your course over ground's over here.
I'm going to bring Argus's head around. So the goal is to I'm going to put Argus about 045. So if you center yourself up on Argus's screen, basically.
That sounds like a good plan. Gonna do a quick DVL reset to USBL, if you're all right with that. Boom. Okay, so that's more realistic there. So you're going east at a pretty decent clip, but we still haven't gone 135 enough. So you want to still come back. That's why you're at the corner of the box there.
It's all right. We're going to keep Argus downhill a little.
Yep, sounds good.
It's probably far enough out in front there. So is your heading bang on what he wants?
It's 075.
You can use these, if it's easy, you can use these buttons, yeah. That's easier than actually flying the ROV. I find it more fun to fly the vehicle.
Buttons.
And I don't mind if you have your heading cocked towards the slope as we travel along, but that's a bit of an advanced.
There's a method to our madness here. So there's two ways you can do this. You can fly it manually for the whole transect, or you can, if you set your heading on the course that we want, and once you use auto XY and start stepping, then you can adjust your heading and the vehicle will still do that. But I'm going to recommend we fly it manually for this one.
Let me know when you guys are ready and start it.
So what's your altitude there?
3.4 meters off the back.
All right, so knowing that the DVL is in the back of the vehicle and that's where the altitude is derived, you could probably sneak that down just a little bit. Yeah, I'll use the step in this case just to make it easy. You'll have to ease off on your speed or slide to the south a little there.
Yeah, you can see what you're doing over there.
Pull up the ROV nav here.
Yeah.
So you're right at the end of your leash. So you see the line that the boat's tracking?
Yeah.
So you want to fly a razor straight line wherever you pick in Argus, doesn't really matter the offset. You want to make the course over ground the same. So even without looking at the numbers, if you match your line to the big gray line, now whenever you're ready, you can call start of transect.
I think I'm ready.
All right, Taylor Ann, let's mark the start of transect here.
Alrighty, start of transect 10B.
I'm just going to look to the left a little with bubble camera.
B10B.
So helps some people and really messes other people up.
Because the slope, right?
Yeah, so if I'm flying a manual, I'll have it there because I keep digging in. I generally prefer it there, and I use that as my reference. Since you're going downhill, I'm going to tilt down on Argus's camera, center you up. That looks good to me. You're happy with that, Rennie?
Yeah, it looks all good. Make sure as you're drifting, you're not going to, you're matching that course like Dan was saying.
So I'll say now that it's all lined up, you can reference the nav screen once in a while, but the main thing to tell you if you're drifting is, yeah, the main camera. So if the seabed should come straight. And I'll kind of, if I'm not sure, I'll kind of, for example, this crab, if you look at him when he's at the top of the screen, should, as he's going through the screen, shouldn't move left or right. Or whatever, it can be a rock or a white speck or even dust in the water.
Doing good, Jake. Nice, smooth transect.
How fast is the ship moving?
The ship is at 0.3. It's pretty good. It's within our transect pocket. But they want 0.25 and 0.5.
So a double reference beside your nav screen here and the spacing and the lines and all that is the position of Herc and the Argus camera.
Yep.
So you can use instruments or visual if it's, sometimes you only have one.
Looking great. Are the pilots and navigators settled enough for me to chat a little bit about what we're doing?
Sure.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So we have just started our 10th transect of this dive. And by doing that, we select a bottom substrate. So on this entire dive, which is about 24 hours long, we collect transects that represent all of the different habitat types in the area. So we try to collect transect video over soft bottom habitat, over rocky bottom habitat, and over mixed so that we can fully characterize this area. What you're seeing right now has never been seen before. This is the first time people have seen this area. So our transect, we select a start point and we transit along going at a set speed and a set altitude off the seafloor bottom. We go in a straight line and we don't stop for anything unless, we have a technical issue with the ROVs or that kind of thing. So as we go, we're collecting video that will be viewed by specialists after the cruise. They'll do one pass looking at the fish community, another pass looking at sponges, corals, invertebrates of all kinds. So this video will be used to collect an enormous amount of data, but we are not processing it right now. So by doing a standardized type of survey, we are able to compare between areas and between time over time. So some surveys were collected last year and the year before in different parts of Pioneer Canyon. This area has never been viewed before. So we are in the southern portion of the western part of Pioneer Canyon. Right now we are looking at a couple of thorny heads and looks like probably a Dover sole.
Kirsten, this is Justin. We're able to open up the messages on the Nautilus Live website. So public, if you want to put a question, I'm monitoring the messages at the moment. This is something we're kind of doing on a limited basis when we can. But we already have some comments from people saying things like, this is pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. And that someone's here with their GIS class checking things out.
Oh, fantastic.
We do actually
I
have
would
a question.
agree to the first comment. This is pretty cool, and I am also not going to lie. This is, I absolutely love my job, and this is.
Sorry, continue.
How are we, Remy, how are we doing on speed? I mean, I can
Doing
check
good,
that,
yeah.
but...
I just increased the ship speed so we catch up a bit, then I'll go back to keep Jake in that pocket on speed. We did have a pause there. That was my fault.
Yeah, I noticed the thorny heads were stationary for a moment.
Yeah, we're in shallow though, so Argus is catching up quick, and then we'll get us back in the pocket.
Okay. So on our team, we have 2 scientists, and we have a navigator, and we have 2 ROV pilots, and we all specialize in different areas. And so while my job is here to make sure that our protocols are being met and the safety of the ROVs, the configuration, the distances between each other come first. And so when things like that happen and we need to slow down and wait for things to catch up, that's the priority. But we just communicate and to make sure that we're all on the same page. But all the teams that we are working with on the Nautilus are outstanding and just so experienced. We are so lucky to be here. Justin, why don't you
I just
go
have
ahead.
an obligatory interjection there. I used to teach GIS at University of Delaware, so shout out to that GIS class.
And while we're doing the shout outs, thanks for that. Kirsten, there's a shout out to you that says, that was such a good explanation. I've been watching hours of these dives in the background at work, and I was wondering what these transects were for. Thank you. We have a technical question. I'll wait till a moment.
Yeah, let me just comment on that. Thanks for that. We typically on these cruises have science outreach staff that are kind of dovetailing with the science staff. So while typically my role would be to make sure that we're meeting our science objectives and answering questions that are put forward, I kind of have to have 2 hats on at one time, which is trying to think about how to communicate that to the public as well as collecting the science. And sometimes my bandwidth gets a little bit lower and I need to focus on just what's going on. But thanks, we are really love to have the opportunity to communicate with folks and share what we're doing, because who's going to care if you don't see what's here, and whoever gets to see what's here, it's a really great opportunity. Okay, Justin, next.
Well, I think I know the answer to this question, but people want to know if that crab from about 20 minutes ago is still hitchhiking on Hercules. And I think we checked, and I think we think it's not hitchhiking still on Hercules. What do you think?
That's our current belief.
That's what
we will give you any status updates.
Yeah.
We've been
so while we're it might have moved to a different area. So it climbed onto our front porch while we were doing a shift change, and it was visible. So once we're on transect, we don't want to change our camera settings at all. So if we were to tilt down, we might see if it was on the front porch or not. We do have other cameras that our ROV team can see. So we'll let you know if it turns up later.
Great, thank you. Speaking of lights, we have a lights question. This is a technical question. Why have you not used SW and LW, I'm thinking that's shortwave and longwave, UV lights on your rocks and on the biology?
Anybody want to offer an answer to that?
What was the question?
Anyone?
The question is why you're not using shortwave and longwave UV lights on your rocks and biology.
UV as in ultraviolet?
I'm guessing, yeah.
At what stage, I guess as the question, UV can be used to prevent, well, one use of it that we use on the ship is to prevent biofouling in certain sensors that we have, but I don't know if they mean just to investigate.
Short answer to that is that we try and match all the light frequencies to the same for the camera. So try and make it, I think they're either 3,000 or 5,000 Kelvin. So they're all the same temperature lights, basically. Where you go to the store and you get warm light or daylight or ultraviolet sunlight. So I can't tell you exactly what that number is, but the light manufacturers for subsea lights try to hit that number, and we try and have all the same on the vehicle, so we get a uniform lighting for the high definition camera, which is a light hog. It likes a lot of light. I don't know if that answers your question.
So those of you wondering what fish we've just passed, we passed 2 flatfish that are called Dover sole. And we had a hagfish go by that has a similar kind of look to an eel, but it's not an eel. And we've had a rock thorny head, which is just leaving the screen right now.
And Kirsten, I feel like you have, without having the feed in front of you, you are very sensitive to the spirit of the questions, because my next comment was going to be, hey, for those of us just tuning in, please mention if a fish goes by or if a coral goes by, or let us know what it is. That's wonderful. So thanks for doing that.
Happy to. That's where my eye is going. I always find things like this really rewarding and exciting, even if it's just sandy bottom, because you just never know what is going to swim into view. So 2 more flatfish and a thorny head. You can see small holes in the soft bottom sediment. Those are called bioturbations. And there's a whole host of creatures that are living and feeding from those holes. So we could have, if we got really close and looked, you might see a little brittle star arm or 2 sticking out that might grab things, as small things as they came by. There might be worms. There might be all kinds of different bivalves. We have a whelk right now.
Is that the crab?
That answers your question about the crab.
on the camera.
All right, so that
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Was it a
about
California tanner crab? Is photobombing
He's gonna block my vision.
channel 1?
I'm gonna be flying blind.
Remember when I said we were sometimes surprised?
Caitlin, let me know if there's anything we need to do about this disrupting the.
We're actually right at the end of transect. We only have a few more meters to go.
Okay, so we cover 150 meters for our transect, and Sorry, I'm slightly distracted right now. We cover 150 meters for the transect so that the person processing the data can select at least a 100 meter chunk, contiguous chunk. And so I don't think that is not going to ruin our transect, but it is entertaining and answers a question.
Well, our scientists are chiming in that the transect will be good. We can still see the seafloor. And then also that's hysterical.
Right,
This is in science chat.
Let's mark the end of transect here. You're all happy with that? That's
yes, that's great. So we also just had a C-pen on the left-hand side of the screen with a sea star attached to the top part, possibly a serpent star. We just got a comment that we have a coordination call going on right now, and the whole coordination team is cracking up on the call because they're also watching this. Tanner Crab is getting some attention.
So we've marked that end of transect, and our next point, we've passed point 2S. Our next point is point 2T. We can head directly there. The slope seems like we should be able to go along it without too much issue. Or if you have any other suggestions, we can do that.
No, I think, let's see, Guy Cochran is on. Guy, do you have any other guidance? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and transit to that next waypoint.
Yeah, Roger.
Towards that.
Okay, Kirsten, are you ready for some more questions? I'm just feeding you here.
Sure, while we wait for anyone to chime in, but I think that's probably the best thing is just to start transiting, and we will, once we're 100 meters out from this point, let me know, and we'll consider doing another transect there.
Sure, can do.
Thanks. Yeah, Justin, why don't you go ahead?
Sorry, caught you mid-decision point there. I was busy looking at all these great questions coming in. All right, so my next question is, do all the fish at these depths seem, they're stating that all these fish seem somewhat normal, in quotation marks. At what depth are the really strange looking fish found? And do we dive at these depths?
Let's see if we have Tom. Tom, do you want to chime in on that on Science Chat, and we can share with the folks? So we certainly can get some very non-normal looking fish at this depth and in the ranges that we will be diving during this week.
Let me see what I can do here.
Yeah, I think it maybe depends on your definition of normal. Some of the fish that we've seen on this cruise already, like black-tailed snailfish or even grenadier, if you've never seen them before, they're pretty unusual. But if you're thinking maybe like an anglerfish or something like that, if that's what's in your head for what to look in a deep sea cruise, then some of these might look a little more standard.
Okay, I'm going to alter course then to 060 as we head towards 2T. Please interject if you want to do anything different.
Roger, 060.
Bridge nav.
We have Tom Leidig responding to that question. Skates, grenadier, hagfish are strange, but it all depends on what your definition of strange is. So hagfish, which we have seen, can produce an enormous amount of mucus, and so they are definitely strange. In different habitats, once we get to some rockier substrate, there'll be a lot of different things to look at. Tom is also saying many of the weird fish people think of are actually midwater fish, so not near the seafloor bottom like we are right now, And those would be viperfish. I think that was supposed to be fangtooth, anglerfish, etc. And so they would not be associated with the seafloor bottom. They would be actually above us. And they're also very small, though the pictures make them look kind of enormous. They are quite small.
Okay, and then there's been actually 3 questions, Kirsten, asking, why are we observing the seafloor? Like, what's the kind of bigger questions that we're trying to get at doing these transects over these different habitats? I know we've kind of covered it on some of the other days and the other shifts, but do you want to touch on that and give a little summary?
Yeah, of course. So this is within the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, an area that is managed by the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary. And it's an area that we have not been. So this is the first time we are able to look at this area. So the goal is to characterize the seafloor bottom in this area. Although the sanctuaries don't manage fisheries, we are responsible for understanding what impact fisheries may have. And so this is an area that seafloor trawling was opened earlier this year. And so if you can imagine, seafloor trawling was opened in an area where we didn't even know what was on the bottom, which is very common because we have so little data on every square foot of the seafloor bottom. So the goal of this cruise and this dive is to characterize the substrate so we're kind of ground truthing the seafloor mapping data that has been collected in the past. So we come down and we kind of ground truth that information so that we can improve our modeling in this area. This type of data response on what the seafloor looks like actually means this because we have been there, and this means this. So that information is gained, but we are also trying to characterize all of the residents in these habitats. So we are looking at, so there are kind of 3 main habitat types. So soft bottom, rocky bottom, and mixed bottom, where you have some rocks and some soft bottom. So we want to conduct these transects in each of those types of habitats so that we have a full understanding of the community of species in this area. So when we first landed on this dive, landed on bottom last night, we landed in a rocky substrate with bamboo coral, basically kind of a bamboo coral forest. And those bamboo corals can live hundreds of years and, would not fare well with interaction with bottom trawling gear. So we just kind of want to come down and get a sense for what the habitat is like. And then provide guidance to the agencies that are managing the actual fisheries. Well, we went down and we actually found that this area is really important. It's rockier substrate, and there's incredible corals, and those corals are incredible habitat for larval fish and that kind of thing. So we can provide that guidance back to those that are managing the fisheries and possibly get areas closed, or just provide more information because we haven't known what was here before. I hope that answers that question.
That's great. Thank you, Kirsten. We have questions for the data logger. You ready? This is like drum roll data logger questions. One of the questions was, when did we last take a push core in the soft sediment? And I think there was one pretty close to the last watch change. And that was
it was about an hour ago. Sorry, that wasn't for me. That was for the data logger.
Kristen, you get lots of questions. These are data logger questions.
I'm
No, I
sorry.
appreciate you jumping in. And the second question is for people if they want to go to the YouTube site to try to scroll back to see the octopus. How far into the dive was the octopus sighted? Those are data logger questions. We don't have to have an instant response, but I thought I'd throw those out there.
Okay, sorry, I had my mic away from my mouth. So yeah, our last push core was a little over an hour ago. It's been hard to take some push cores down here, I guess. Apparently on the last watch, they had some issues with taking push cores because there's some hard bottom underneath what looked to be soft. And then the octopus, I'm not too sure. I'd have to really look at hard to find at what time they saw that. I don't have all of that information in front of me. But I'm sad that I missed that. I was asleep when they found the octopus on the last watch. That's cool. I'm glad that somebody saw it. I'm sure if it was great, it'll end up being a highlight, and you might see that posted out by our video people.
Okay, so best might for the octopus might be wait for the highlight clip to be posted at Nautilus Live. Sounds good.
Can we share some of Tom's? Tom is following up. Tom Leidig is following up on some of the strange looking fish questions. So, so our resident fish expert here says, my favorite fish is a fangtooth or a hatchet fish. They can be really deep, so 5,000 meters, but they vertically migrate to shallower waters at night to take advantage of the more abundant prey in shallower water. So when we retrieve the ROVs tonight, you see some strange critters go by. So as we're transiting up through the water column. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. They keep coming. We got a little clarity on the UV light question. There was a clarification that it was because of looking for fluorescence, because the way that it might help identify things or how some things might light up. So appreciate the clarification from the person who sent that in. Our next question is for one of our pilots. How do you become an ROV pilot? Seems fun. Who'd like to take that one?
How about Dan? And then Jake. Are pilots on mute?
Sorry, what was that?
Dan is
We were
off of SPL
talking.
for the moment.
We were doing op stuff at the moment. I think it was, how do you become an ROV pilot? Was that the question?
Yeah, how do you become an ROV pilot? Seems like fun.
Well, I got involved through the internship program at with OET last year. Kind of stumbled into it. Didn't expect to be where I am in this seat, but kind of happened. And I kind of applied on a whim. Wasn't expecting anything out of it. But that was how I got where I am today.
What were you up to when you applied?
I was a undergraduate student at URI, University of Rhode Island, studying ocean engineering. And so I guess that's kind of how I got my start in ocean science and ocean technology. And I heard of the internship through some of my professors and decided to apply.
Great, thank you so much. Should we hold off on asking our other pilot, or is op still going on?
I think so. Hey, Rennie, how far are we out from our endpoint?
From our endpoint, we have come just about 130 meters, 130 meters.
Okay, so Erica is back with us. Erica, do you want to do another transect around here?
That would be great. So whenever you're ready to set up, this is a good one to do. Soft sediment is fine.
Pilots, are you happy with the way things are going here?